Hello, everyone. This is Donna Pepperdine Evans. Thank you for coming to this presentation on trees of the Appalachian Trail. Those who attended my last presentation, Appalachian Trail 101, know that I've been very involved recently in learning and teaching about the Appalachian Trail. So today we go one step further to talk about the trees, what you actually see when you are out there. As I thought about which trees to talk about, I thought about some of the trees I saw while hiking on the Appalachian Trail. And I thought about the ones that I remembered seeing. So let me see. I want to bring up this PowerPoint for you. One moment. There we go. Sorry about that technical glitch there, but here we are. Okay, so I first thought about which trees to talk about, and I remembered, well, I'd seen the sycamore, the maple, the tulip, flowering dogwood, oak, and birch out there along the trail. And I remembered trees along the Appalachian Trail listed in a book written by Ben Montgomery called Grandma Gatewood's Walk, about a 67-year-old grandmother who hiked the trail. And that book mentioned elm, chestnut, hemlock, dogwood, spruce, fir, mountain ash, and sugar maple. And then again, I thought about the 14 states that the trail winds through, and I realized that each of those states had a state tree. And so I made a list: Georgia, the live oak; North Carolina, longleaf pine tree; Tennessee, tulip poplar; Virginia, flowering dogwood; West Virginia, sugar maple; Maryland, white oak; Pennsylvania, eastern hemlock; New Jersey, red oak; New York, sugar maple; Connecticut, the charter oak, which is the white oak; Massachusetts, the American elm; New Hampshire, the white birch; Vermont, sugar maple; and Maine, the eastern white pine. So then I just made up a tally of the state trees. So out of those 14 states, 4 had oak trees, 3 maples, 2 pine, albeit different types of pine or maple, or oak trees, but and then flowering dogwood, eastern hemlock, American elm, and white birch. And so taking all of these thoughts into consideration, I came up with the top 10 trees that I would be mentioning tonight in this webinar, from oak to fir. Now, to identify trees, we can look at the leaves, cones, flowers, bark, and fruit. But learning all of this in one go would be impossible and overwhelming. Today, we will highlight some of the trees you would see while hiking along the Appalachian Trail. We'll keep it simple and fun, but also refer you to more advanced resources to continue tree learning. And I hope you will love the trees you see today, the wonderful trees along the Appalachian Trail. Before we get started, I'd like to share a poem with you written by Joyce Kilmer. Now, Joyce was actually a man who lived in the 19th century, early 20th century. He was a poet and a writer, and he's pretty well known for publishing this poem called Trees. He published it in 1914. I think that I shall never see a poem lovely as a tree whose hungry mouth is pressed against the earth's sweet flowing breast, a tree that looks at God all day and lifts her leafy arms to pray, a tree that may in summer wear a nest of robins in her hair, upon whose bosom snow has lain, who intimately lives with rain, Poems are made by fools like me, but only God can make a tree. That's a lovely poem. I really like it. And that feeling of just loving trees is what I wish to convey this evening as we go through some of the trees that you'll find on the Appalachian Trail. So let's start with the oak trees. Maryland has the state tree of the white oak. And many of you are probably familiar with the oak tree. You know, this is a white oak. Its Latin name is Quercus alba. A simple way to know the white oak is to check out the rounded leaves. The rounded protrusions of the leaf are called lobes. In fact, the white oak has rounded leaves and sinuses. The sinus is the indentation between two lobes. Can you see in this picture how the lobes are round? And as you follow the indentations between the lobes, they are also rounded. So with the white oak, just think rounded leaves. Here is a close-up of an acorn of the white oak, which ripens in September. This is a gorgeous drawing by a botanical artist. Wouldn't this be a fun activity for any age, to sit down and capture through drawing and painting the details of an acorn? I just think that sounds like so much fun. We know that squirrels like to collect and eat acorns, and Native Americans and early colonists used acorns for food, preparing them in various ways, such as raw, roasted, or boiled into a mush. During the Civil War, when times were tough, especially in the South, soldiers brewed acorn coffee and perhaps even roasted or prepared acorn mush. Incidentally, the acorn is rich in calcium, potassium, and phosphorus, and B-complex vitamins. Today, in the movement to live off the land and draw closer to nature, to develop skills that our ancestors had, there are those who make acorn flour and use it in their cooking. Both white and red oak acorns can be used. There is a rather time-consuming process that is necessary to leach the tannins out of the acorn before eating. Otherwise, the taste would be very bitter. So it's important to learn about that. Here is a picture of white oak bark. It's a light gray, and the white oak is used to make veneer for cabinets, to make furniture, and other wood products. In the state of Connecticut, we also have the white oak as the state tree, but it is also called the charter oak. Why do they call it the charter oak? Because of this legend. In 1662, the colony of Connecticut, which was owned and governed by England, was granted a royal charter by King Charles II. After King Charles II died, King James II was trying to take back some of the power from the colonists that was protected in their charter. And so the colonists decided to protect their charter by hiding it in a white oak tree in 1687. Hence, it became known as the charter oak, the place where the charter was hidden. After James II was overthrown, the charter emerged from hiding and was used to govern colonists through 1818. That's a really great story about the charter oak, which also is the Quercus alba, or white oak. Now, the northern red oak is the state tree of New Jersey. Its Latin name is Quercus rubra. Its wood has been used for lumber, pulp, furniture, cabinets, veneer, fuel, etc. The red oak leaves have pointy or spiky protrusions or lobes, and that's how you tell them apart from the white oak leaves. You can sometimes notice on the red oak leaves there's a bristle tip extending from their spiky point. The bristle is like a short, stiff hair which comes off the end of the lobe, as you can see in this photo. So that bristle tip and the spiky protrusions lets you know that it's a red oak. And in this next picture, you see the white oak leaf side by side with the red oak leaf, so it is easy to compare the round lobes of the white oak with the more pointed lobes of the red. I think these drawings are beautiful. They were made by a Belgian artist named Pierre-Joseph Redoute a couple hundred years ago. He was actually illustrating a book for François Michaud, a French author who was writing a book on trees in the Americas. They did a marvelous job. They worked together. You know, Michaud would be out researching and he would write the book, and then Redoute, he did the botanical drawings, and they're just marvelous, available for everyone to enjoy today. So here we have pictures of the artist. Michaud is on the left, and Redoute, this is a portrait of him, on the right. And this Michaud is the same man that the Michaud State Park in Pennsylvania is named for. In fact, the Appalachian Trail goes right through this park. And it's just great to think about Michaud hiking, exploring, and writing about plants, and to know that a park was named in his honor, and also very inspiring to see the work done by the botanical artist Redoute. So historically, the red oak bark was used for its tannin and for medicine. Because of its high concentrations of tannic acid, red oak bark was used in the Civil War tanning industry. So that is to say, they used the tannin in oak bark to manufacture leather, to make saddles, bridles, harnesses, boots, shoes, etc. So in the book Flora and Fauna of the Civil War, Kelby Ouchley, the author, reports that oak is mentioned most often as shade, shelter, or firewood, and less commonly as food or medicine. But one physician described how he, and I quote, had little else at my command except the cold water dressing for wounds. From experiment, I learned to improve on the plain old method, as I think, by employing a decoction of red oak bark added to the water, which acted as a disinfectant and by its stimulating and astringent properties promoted the healing process. End of quote. So that's our Quercus rubra, our northern red oak. So Georgia has for their state tree the live oak, and you may be interested to know that the name live oak comes from the fact that evergreen oaks remain green and live throughout winter when other oaks are dormant and leafless. So if you live in Georgia or down in the great state of Texas, you probably know that your oaks are green throughout the winter, and you're probably looking at a live oak. So now Vermont, New York, West Virginia, these three states have chosen the sugar maple to be their state tree. This is a picture of a sugar maple tree. The Latin name is Acer saccharum, and the sugar maple is harvested for its lumber and also for the sugar made from sap collected in the spring by tapping trees. We all enjoy the wonderful maple syrup that is another product from the maple tree. What would pancakes and waffles be without it? So nowadays, the maple tree is good for the tourist business in New England, as the maple leaves are part of the panorama of changing colors in the Northeast, attracting thousands of visitors who desire to see the fall foliage. Here is a picture of a maple leaf. You can also see at the bottom of this picture the helicopter seeds. They're called helicopter seeds because they spin as they fall, and they are shaped to spin as they fall and to carry the seeds far away with the wind. And the kids love this feature of the sugar maple. Here is another picture of a maple leaf and helicopter seeds as illustrated by the artist Pierre-Joseph Redoute. Well, I hope you're enjoying seeing these trees and hearing about them. You may know all about some of them, and some of them may be new to you, and I hope that you're enjoying our little hike along the Appalachian Trail. Okay, so North Carolina and Maine, both of these states have a pine tree for their state tree, but North Carolina adopted the longleaf pine tree, and Maine has the eastern white pine. Okay, so I'll just say, first of all, I'll ask the question, do you know what a pine tree is? If you see a tree that you think is a pine, you can ask yourself, does the tree bear cones and have leaves that are needle-like? You may already know that trees that bear cones are called conifers, and most are evergreen, which means their needles or leaves remain alive and on the tree throughout the winter and into the next growing season. The opposite would be a deciduous tree that drops its leaves in the fall and is bare throughout the year. So, if the tree bears cones, has leaves that are needle-like, and is an evergreen, check to see if the needles are arranged in clusters of 2 to 5. If they are, it's a pine tree. So this is a picture of the eastern white pine, the state tree of Maine. So it can grow to a height of over 100 feet. They're so admired for being tall and beautiful. European settlers used these pines for building log homes. The eastern white pine is asymmetric in appearance with branches absent on the lower 2/3 of the tree. You can kind of get a sense of that. You can see that in this slide, that the branches are absent on the lower 2/3 of the tree. So the eastern white pine has a soft and feathery look. It has 5 needles in each bundle or cluster or fascicle. Okay, so 5 needles per cluster. So when you get up close to the pine tree, it's a good practice to get into is when you look at the leaves, how many are projecting out as a bundle? How many do you see? Well, um, this tree has 5, okay, 5 needles in each bundle. So the eastern white pine extends south from Canada along the Appalachians to northern Georgia. It is the largest conifer in this range. Here is a pine cone of the eastern white pine. I read that American Indians of the Ojibwe tribe stewed the pine cone with meat for flavoring. Here's a picture of the bark of the eastern white pine, and the white, soft inner bark is edible. When dried and pounded, it can be used as flour. Tea brewed with the inner bark has been used to treat respiratory problems such as colds, coughs, and sore throats. It is a simple thing to make pine needle tea. Just collect a small bundle of the green needles, the young, fresh ones, and are the best, and then remove any of the brown sheaths that may be at the base of the needles. Chop up the needles into small pieces, and then heat a cup of water to boiling. You can pour this hot water over about a tablespoon of the chopped needles and allow it to steep for 5 to 10 minutes. And then strain it, of course, and enjoy your tea. If you want a stronger tea, you can boil the leaves for 2 to 3 minutes. So here we are, a beautiful tree with very practical applications. Of course, we mentioned that North Carolina has the longleaf pine tree. Its leaves are dark green and needle-like and occur in bundles of 3. Okay, so that's how you tell them apart. The longleaf pine tree used to occur in vast forests along the Atlantic and the Gulf of Mexico. There were large forests of this tree, and for various reasons, there are only 3% of the original forests existing today. So we're fortunate that there are some people who are trying to plant the trees and to bring these longleaf pine trees back again. Okay. Tennessee, Tulip Poplar. The tulip poplar tree is also called the yellow poplar. Its Latin name is Liriodendron tulipifera, and it is a member of the magnolia family. It can grow to be over 120 feet tall. So here's a picture of a tulip poplar forest. You can see how tall and majestic they are. I love to see the tulip tree. It's just a beautiful tree, one of my favorites to come across. So the liriodendron trees, or tulip trees, are easily recognized by their leaves, which have 4 lobes, and you can see that here in this picture. 4 lobes or projections. And in most cases, the top of the leaf, or the apex at the top, is V-shaped. You can get a clear sense of that as you see the V shape at the top. Or they can also be straight across at the top. And luckily, I was out hiking here in Virginia, and I came across a tulip poplar tree, and I took a picture, and here it is. It shows you the other example of how the leaf can be basically straight across at the top. So there you go. So the tulip tree leaves turn yellow during the fall and contribute to the beautiful fall foliage panorama. Back to this flower picture. In the spring, large, beautiful orange and pink tulip-shaped flowers bloom. It is the tallest North American flowering plant. The bees use its flower pollen to make honey. The tulip tree has been used as a timber tree for lumber. Its straight trunk was sought for building logs and log structures of all types. It is good for making furniture, cabinetry, and it's also a good shade tree. Best of all, it is prevalent among other hardwood trees of the Appalachian Trail, such as oaks, American beech, maples, eastern white pine, and hickories, and you will surely see and enjoy it. A lovely, lovely tree. So up to Pennsylvania, where they have the eastern hemlock tree as the state tree. Its Latin name is Tsuga canadensis, and this tree is a member of the pine family, by the way. So the Native Americans use the bark of this tree, which has a high concentration of tannic acid, to make a tea that was used to treat coughs and to apply to cuts and wounds. The Eastern hemlock tea, like other conifer teas, is rich in vitamin C. So you can steep the needles in 1 cup of boiling water for 15 minutes or so, sweeten to taste. And very interesting is I understand that the maple water and hemlock branches were used by the Iroquois as a beverage. The eastern hemlock tree is aromatic, and an essential oil can be distilled from its needles and twigs. Historically, it has been used to treat coughs and respiratory conditions with the essential oil. The essential oil can be diffused so that its scent permeates the air or applied topically. So if you don't have time to hike the trail, you can still enjoy the scent of the trees with a bottle of essential oils and a diffuser. Now in the springtime, hemlock trees will produce light green tips, like most other conifers, and you can nibble on these tips as a trailside snack for a pine or lemony flavor. There is a hemlock plant which is absolutely poisonous, so be sure you understand we are talking about the Tsuga canadensis tree, and always correctly identify the plant or tree you are seeking. The eastern hemlock, or Tsuga canadensis, has a distinctive look. Be sure you have a good guide and know what you are doing. All right, so we're going to take a little break here from trees just to hear a fragrant essential oil offer. This slide shows the aromatic trees of the Appalachian Trail. And I just love thinking about this. We have our list: eastern hemlock, pine, spruce, fir, and cedar. These are all aromatic, and essential oils can be produced from these trees. As many of you may know, I am a big fan of essential oils, and if you would like to try some essential oils of the Appalachian Trail, or in other words, essential oils that would help you feel like you were on the Appalachian Trail, even if you're stuck in the office working, then you may be interested in the essential oil of pine or spruce, or here we go, we'll see visuals of that, pine or spruce. Or there is a blend of essential oils of pine, spruce, cedar, fir, and other conifers, and it's a blend called Evergreen Essence. And this is a lovely, lovely blend of essential oils, which helps you feel like you're grounded and close to nature. So if you already have a good source for essential oils, that is super. And you can pick up your pine, spruce, or evergreen essence there. But for those of you who have perhaps never tried an essential oil before, let me know of your interest, and I will offer you the chance to get some of these oils. So these aromatic tree oils, you can get a 15 milliliter bottle of pine essential oil for right about $20. And for Northern Lights Black Spruce, a 5 milliliter bottle runs $31.25. 15 milliliter bottle of Evergreen Essence is $33.88. You can try all three of them for $84.87 and $8 shipping and handling. So some of the benefits of diffusing these oils is they help you to feel like you're out in the woods. They definitely have that wonderful scent of tree, and they're balancing and can be just very enjoyable. So having these oils and then a diffuser helps you to permeate the essential oils into the room, and it's lovely for yourself to enjoy or a lovely gift for other people. So let me know if you'd be interested. You can send me an email at herbaleducator@gmail.com, or you could go and visit my website at yldist.com/Donna Evans, and then place your order there. Okay, back to the state tree. The state of Virginia has a flowering dogwood as the state tree. Now, this tree is magical. When you come upon it in the springtime with flowers blooming, a beautiful white amidst the other trees of the forest, it makes you really glad that you went on a hike. It is a smaller tree which grows in the understory of the taller trees around it. I took this picture myself while hiking on the Appalachian Trail, and it is so, so lovely. In the fall, the leaves turn a burnt red and the tree has clusters of red berries. The berries are an important food source for birds. The flowering dogwood is one of the most popular flowering trees in the southern United States. Here's a close-up of the beautiful white flowers that the flowering dogwood shares with us in the springtime. On to the state of Massachusetts, where the American elm is the state tree. And what I wanted to do for this is to show you a picture of its leaves. You could run into this tree along the Appalachian Trail, so I wanted to point out how its leaves are described, and this could help you to remember it. The American elm leaf is oval, sharp-pointed, with a double-toothed margin, and has prominent midrib and lateral veins. My goodness, what does all that mean? So you can see the oval shape and that it is sharp pointed at the apex or the tip. and sharp-pointed with double-toothed margins. So a little bit about those terms. A leaf margin that is toothed means that its border is jagged. The margin of a leaf is the border of a leaf, and a leaf margin that is toothed means that the border is jagged. A leaf margin that is doubly toothed means that the teeth have teeth on them. So not only do you have like the jagged tooth look, you have teeth that have teeth on them. I think the best thing to do is to show you this picture again, and you can get a sense of this leaf. It's oval. It is sharp pointed with double toothed margins. It has a prominent midrib. That is the ribbing, the line going straight through it. And it has lateral veins. You can see how the veins come from the midrib out to the lateral sides of the margin. And then another identifier for the American elm is that its base is unequal. You can see here how they don't start at the same point. So for the elm leaf, oval, sharp-pointed with double-toothed margins, a prominent midrib and lateral veins, and its base is conspicuously inequilateral. It's not equal at the base. So that's how you can recognize the elm leaf. So up to New Hampshire, they have the white birch as their state tree, aka or also known as the paper birch. Now, this is really recognizable really when you look at the bark. So the paper birch has thin white bark that often peels in paper-like layers from the tree. That's how it's very easy to recognize. And by the way, this bark is an excellent fire starter. So birch bark was traditionally used to make canoes and containers. Its wood has been used for making spears, bows and arrows, popsicle sticks. That's very interesting. And the sap of birch can be boiled down to make a birch syrup. And have you ever heard of birch beer? It's made of black birch, which is a different species, and there are quite a few different species and varieties of birch. You know, you'll hear people talk about the black birch, the white birch, paper birch, river birch, different kinds. And I think that if you just get a sense of tonight what the white birch looks like with its bark peeling, you'll have a good start at recognizing this tree. And also, let's take a look at the leaves here. The birch leaves are oval or heart-shaped, and they are pointed at the apex or the tip. You can see that in this picture. The leaves are rounded at the base and are irregularly double-toothed. So they are also double-toothed, but irregularly. The leaves are dull green on the upper side and yellowish green on the lower side. And I have a picture here of the leaves turning yellow. They turn yellow in the fall and are very beautiful. All right, so here we are. We have gone through 14 state trees and talked about the different trees that are along the Appalachian Trail. And of course, there are many, many more kinds of trees, but I wanted to give you a simple start to recognizing some of the trees that you will encounter as you hike along the Appalachian Trail. It is fun not only to just be on the trail, but to start looking around and studying trees, and it brings a lot of joy to begin to recognize them and make them as your friends, so to speak. Now, there is a book, a little booklet written by Ilan Shamir. He does an amazing job. He wrote a little book called Advice from a Tree, and I really recommend this book. I'll just give you an idea of some of the things that he says in it. He says, go out on a limb. That's some of the advice from the tree's point of view, right? So go out on a limb and take a chance in life, I guess. Drink plenty of water. You can imagine a tree saying that. Let your limbs sway and dance in the breezes. Be flexible. Remember your roots. Enjoy the view. These are all advice from a tree, and there's a lot more in this book. It's very enjoyable, so um, it's a good one to have. And I wanted to close this webinar by saying that um, we can learn a lot from the trees. It's an emergency source of food. It's good for us to know about it. It's good for us to understand the trees, to keep them healthy, and to be well on this planet. And I hope that you will enjoy continuing to learn more about trees. Now, I would like to just mention that in preparing this presentation, I came across many amazing and wonderful references. And if you would like a copy of those references, do please send me an email at herbaleducator@gmail.com. And I would be very happy to send you a list of those references. And just make sure that you perhaps put references in the subject line to help me out with that. So thank you so much for joining me tonight for this webinar about trees of the Appalachian Trail. And I look forward to hearing from you if you do decide you would like to try some essential oil of pine or Tsuga canadensis or an evergreen essence. Just let me know. Send me that email to herbaleducator@gmail.com, and I'll be happy to get you started. Again, this is Donna Evans, and thank you for joining me for Trees of the Appalachian Trail. Bye-bye, and happy hiking on the Appalachian Trail.